afternoon, everybody. East Coast, West Coast, North Coast, South Coast. It doesn't matter what kind of coast you're on. You are watching a live edition of the Roundtable coming to you from the WWDBTV studios in the heart of Las Vegas, Nevada. That's right. 4 p.m. our time, 7 p.m. East Coast. You're probably getting.
I heard that.
Yes. I was testing it. Obviously, it didn't work.
It worked.
It is September 21st. We are coming to you from the beautiful studios. Thank you for watching us on YouTube, Facebook, 72 hours on Roku. If you want to call, and I expect calls tonight because of our guest tonight, 702-992-3207. If you're in the chat room for Facebook, hit us with questions. If you're on YouTube, send them in. We can get them from there. We expect tonight's show to be rocking and rolling. To my far right, before we introduce our guests, my far right out in the parking lot, he is known as The Mouth, Mr. George Miklos. George, how you doing, buddy?
Very good, live and kicking.
Yes, you are.
I like this new stuff.
You
man.
like the new stuff, right? We've upgraded. The table hasn't gotten shorter. The microphone stands have just gotten longer, by the way.
Right. No,
Sitting in the middle, our hot seat chairs tonight, George.
That's right.
Now,
boom, boom.
Total transparency. I know both of these ladies personally outside of the studio.
My right, I'm sorry.
I know. My wife pays them well to be my friend. To my right, middle school teacher. She is Miss Kerri Allard. Hi, Kerri. How are you?
I'm good.
And to her right is a closer friend because I worked directly for this lady for 5 years now. Christie Grandjean joined us. She's representing the elementary school level. Hi, Christie.
Hi, Mr. Phillips.
This is a whole different side. Yeah, right. They're trying to get into that. They know the other side of it. So
right.
It does. It absolutely does. So if you've all seen the post that I put up a promo about tonight, by the way, you notice Rick is not here tonight. He got called out of town last night. He's taking care of some philanthropic work.
I thought he was still in the Broncos, still hanging
out.
No.
Well, after their loss last week, they probably
I'm glad he's not here because I didn't want to have to say anything.
No, but Rick. And nor would I after the way you guys played this week too.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, right.
Somebody told him to go long.
Right, and they still run
it.
And
he did.
So Rick is out of town on business. Unfortunately, could not join us via video link. So hopefully we'll have him back in studio next week because I know he would love tonight's topic.
Yes,
so tonight's, right? I mean, how many times on the show do we talk about education?
I'm shocked. The one time that he's not here is the show that he would love to be a
part
of.
And he's an educator in many ways as well.
Yes.
I was hoping he could at least video link in, but unfortunately he cannot. So he'll have to watch it on replay like everybody else. So before we get started, before we get into any formalities, George, give me a good story for the week. Give me something good.
What, that happened just in general, whatever?
To you, to the city, to your wife.
Okay, well.
Horses don't count, by the way.
Right. My side gig, I work for a private security company, and we do security for conventions and stuff. Yes. We actually have the cybersecurity conference in town. And it's at Caesar's Palace.
Sort of ironic.
Right, which is the irony of it all, is with all this hacking going on with the computer stuff, and MGM just...
Yeah, it was going to be at the MGM, but they had to move it.
Right.
Well, Caesar's was not a great choice either.
No, not really. But MGM, after 10 or 12 days, they're back up and running. It took almost 2 weeks. But the irony of it all, they have all these advertisements. We'll stop your hackers. We'll stop all these break-in. Caesars, the only way they were able to stop it was pay these hackers $10 million. Yeah. That's not the way you do it. And I'm glad MGM, they're not going to pay. And that's just, the funny thing is the irony of it all is we're working with all these cybersecurity guys. Mm-hmm. And I was asking what is the irony of having this, conference here after, especially in a place that paid off these guys. Mm-hmm. So he goes, George, nowadays, we don't even have to have our enemy come to the country now. They can shut off our electric grid. Yep. They could mess up the computers like they did with the MGM, having issues with their computer system, checking people in and out of the hotel and all this other stuff, restaurants. Even some of the machines went down.
Right. If only they could do that for the IRS and get rid of my tax bill, that I'd appreciate.
Yes, I agree totally. But
go and fix my credit.
That was this whole week with cybersecurity, which was amazing. And those guys make a lot of money.
Yeah. Mac Jackson, who does a show here, Cybersecurity Awareness, right? Is that the name of the show? Mac? Cybersecurity Awareness.
Cybersecurity Awareness TV.
You want to say that again?
Cybersecurity Awareness TV.
That's what I thought you said.
And he's been swamped.
I'll bet he has.
Getting calls up the yin yang.
The local news stations actually have him on their show as an expert in what's going on. So, all right, let's get to it. We've got a lot to talk about. So, ladies, before we get started into anything, hello, Cindy and Candy out there. We appreciate it. for tuning in. Cindy Dunn. Can't wait to hear Kerri and Christie.
Hey, we know her.
I figured you would. All right, so let's get started. Just some brief introductions because I would love our audience to know your guys' background and why you guys are in a position to share your thoughts and information and talk about the education field. So, Kerri, why don't we start with you? Let's give some background to everybody out there.
So this is my 19th year of teaching, all of it in public education. The first 18 years were in elementary. Taught kinder, first, second, third, skipped fourth, went to fifth, love fifth grade. Strategist for 1 year, but really missed working with kids every day in my own class. So, and then decided to make the leap to middle school this year just to try something new.
And how's that working out?
I love it. It's a lot of fun, actually.
Okay,
yeah,
well, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Christie, how about you?
All right. So this is my 27th year in education. I know, right? And I started in Southern California.
And considering she's only 25.
I was going to
that's not
say,
bad.
wait a second,
Amazing.
27?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, so I started in Southern California and I taught second grade there. And then I moved to Las Vegas and I've been teaching here for 25 years. And I have taught in the classroom both first and second grade. And then I've also been a literacy specialist and a learning strategist outside of the classroom. But currently I'm back in the classroom and I'm teaching first grade again. And it's all been in public education. So
I just want to let everybody know if you're listening to us on the mobile app, of course, on the Android, it's WWDBTV. You can go to your Play Store there and download it, Google Store. If you're on iPhones, WWDBTV LV, download it. You can listen to us on the phone as well. 702-992-3207 is our phone number. Please do not hesitate to call us with your questions, thoughts, et cetera, et cetera. So, okay.
Hope the phone works.
Did you pay the bill this month?
Great.
Yeah, they did mess with some of the wires.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah.
Maybe
I haven't had a chance to test everything.
Did they? Maybe they
We'll
stole
find
it.
out.
Maybe they stole
Your
the
phone bill's not 500. Never mind.
Sorry.
So let's go back to the roots. So 27 years, many years for you. Why'd you get into teaching? I just don't remember the number of years you said. Would you take 19?
It's my 19th.
19.
Yeah.
19, 20. That's a lot of years.
Yeah.
Talk about why you got into education in the first place. Let's talk about that. Who'd like to go first?
I'll talk first. So I'll never forget that my second grade teacher, Miss Eckhart, she was like my favorite teacher ever. I loved her. She inspired me. And I remember telling her one day, I said, Miss Eckhart, I'm going to be a teacher when I grow up. And I never wavered from that thought. I always was headed towards education. So, I went straight through teacher college and got my degree. And then I went right back and got my master's degree in the area of reading because I wanted to become a reading specialist for kids. And so I always wanted to be a teacher. There was never a time where I wanted to be something else. And I loved being in the classroom with kids and watching the light bulb come on. One of my favorite things is watching first graders learn how to read, because once they figure it out, oh my gosh, it's just, they love it and they can't stop reading and they want to read every book. So, and then you create those lifelong readers and that's what did it for me. That's what I wanted to do in education. I really wanted to make that difference. And I know that that's a lot for a lot of teachers. They want to do that.
Kerri, how about you?
Actually, my first major was marine biology back at University of New Hampshire. And I realized that I'm not a good swimmer and I'm also a little afraid of the ocean. We went to Plan B. No, I always was interested in being a teacher. I really love school and I personally love to learn. I love information. I'm just super curious like that. I love to do research. So I actually,
as we can tell by your preparedness.
I know. Dream job, professional researcher. But anyway, I actually transferred to UNLV from University of New Hampshire. And I thought, well, let me just take an intro to education class so I don't make another mistake on a major. Let's just kind of figure this out. And the first time I went to a school just to kind of like shadow a teacher, I just had this overwhelming feeling of being home and it just felt right. So I'm like, this is absolutely it. And I initially thought I only wanted to teach kinder. So I got my first teaching job. When CCSD interviewed me, I said, I'm only answering these questions from a kindergarten teacher perspective, just so you know. So don't try to put me anywhere else. But then as my own children grew, I feel like I also grew and became more comfortable. And I developed a passion during my time teaching for gifted and talented education. they're often a forgotten population in schools because people oftentimes just don't know what to do. And we spend a lot of time trying to get kids caught up, but not as much time trying to extend. And working in a Title I school for many years, I've grown very passionate about our EL population. Just seeing them rise to many amazing occasions and having them realize, wow, I have an incredible brain and I know how to use it.
Well, you have a front seat to success stories.
Yes,
both of you.
very exciting.
George?
I had one quick question when you were just mentioning the history of the different classes you taught, different grades. You mentioned you really loved 5th grade. And when I was thinking that, well, what's the difference between a 4th grade and 6th grade? What made 5th grade
Oh, okay.
so good?
So part of the reason why I moved to 5th grade, so that was after the year that I was a strategist where I go around and work in other teachers' classrooms and kind of co-plan and co-teach. I got to know 5th grade that year very well because I worked with them quite a bit. And 5th graders are often misunderstood in elementary because they're the oldest in a K-5 or even a pre-K through grade 5 situation. And I just really got to love their personalities and quirkiness, and they're basically like giant kindergartners.
So it's like what, 10, 11?
Yes,
Okay.
they're very funny. They're very
Okay.
independent. They're very torn about leaving the safety of elementary and going to middle school. So it's a big transitional year for them.
So 6th grade is considered middle school.
Yes, and those are the
today's-
babies of middle school.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're the 5th graders that just got there, and they're like, "What's happening?"
It was always 1st through 6th grade, and then 7, 8, 9 when I was going to school. So I didn't know why 5th grade's such, but
Yes.
in your case, they were there last before they go into.
Yes.
Okay.
And they just are a lot of fun. I seriously laughed out loud every single day. And sometimes I just shook my head. I'm just like,
Right.
it's all good.
Aaron?
No, good.
Oh, okay.
I have a question coming in.
Oh,
I'm
you
just
do?
trying to answer.
Yeah.
go
So, yeah. And again, I remember going to school, I guess the safest would be in grade school. But until Aaron said what happened yesterday. But, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, I think most of them are eager to learn. They're innocent. They don't really, I don't know about today's world. They might be a little more aware of things that are going on with the computers and their own cell phones and stuff. But I always thought grade school was the safest to be a teacher. I never had thought about it. I come from a family of college professors, but yeah, I can't imagine wanting to teach anything outside of grade school. I mean, that's the safest, in my opinion. But
I felt that way initially too.
what was any particular grade that was your most comfortable, most favorite?
So my favorite grade is 1st grade, and it really just has to do with the fact that they love to learn. My favorite analogy is if you can watch children watch grass grow and they're excited about watching grass grow, then that means those are my people.
Well, it's funny you mentioned how you enjoy as a teacher. They're listening to you, and all of a sudden, like you said, when the light bulb goes off, when they finally figure out whatever you're teaching them, it's got to feel good to knowing they're listening to me.
Well, and they get so excited when they realize that they've learned something, whether it be reading or math, and they're catching on and they're like, I got it now. And that feeling, you can just tell their enthusiasm and their excitement because they're still really involved in their learning, and they still have this natural curiosity. And so that's the part that I love about the little people, the 1st graders.
Now, you mentioned again, grade school is a little different than getting a little older. But when I was a kid, I remember if I didn't do the right thing in school, I knew that my mom and dad at the teacher conference, they would be, the teacher would say, well, little Georgie's not really learning this. And they would say, don't worry, we'll take care of him at home. Nowadays, it seems like it's being the opposite. Maybe that's one of the myths where some parents are, what are you doing to my kid? That kind of thing. Usually it was the teacher would let the parents know what was going on. And the parents would take care of the situation. Nowadays, you have this turnaround almost where the parents are combative with the teachers now. So does that happen occasionally with you guys, or most parents are fairly understanding about their children when they need to be disciplined or they're not paying attention
I'm
to
gonna let
class?
her handle that one first.
Yeah.
She's that middle school
Right.
girl.
So there's definitely been a shift. So, and oftentimes it feels as if the teacher is blamed for what happened in the classroom.
Right.
Something wasn't done or whatever. And I actually have a stat from Devin Peck burnout statistics. But anyway, it said one reason why teachers are so criticized right now is that the way that we teach is kind of in opposition to modern day parenting. And so there's like this constant friction and clash. And I think the issue too is we're coming at it from two different perspectives. So the parent has, you know, one or more children at home, but they know their children very well. We have many children all in one space. So we have to make almost rapid fire decisions on how to deal with that behavior issue, whatever it is, so we can keep the curriculum and the learning going and not have it disrupt the day for everybody.
So how many kids are in a class these days? 20, 25, 30?
So I'm a little spoiled. I'm not going to lie. But I have 16. That is not normal, by the way. Out there in teacher land, first grade classes are not usually 16 anymore. I am very fortunate that I work at a school where the enrollment is capped. So
very cool.
I'm going to stop it right there. Even though I have our producer to my left, he's going to hustle back to his desk so we can go to our first break of the day. We're just dealing with some tech issues that I'm hearing about.
We're not. They are.
They are.
I keep hearing the Adams family.
Well, the Adams family is because he's hard of hearing. He doesn't know when his phone is vibrating. You know what I'm saying? But in the meantime, we're going to step aside for our first break because I do have some bills to pay. Rick Upchurch says hello. He's in the chat room. Rick. Hopefully, Rick can maybe give us a quick call to say hello. You're watching the Roundtable. We got a lot of education talk to come. Myth busting, as they say. We'll be right back.
Hello, my name is Anselmo Cornelius, and I'm one of the 1,000 digital branch office owners of Transact Card in the country. If I could save you money and double your buying power, wouldn't you want to know how to do that? The U.S. national launch for the Transact Card is coming to the Paris Hotel, Las Vegas, on November 12th, 13th, and 14th. We are now in pre-launch mode for our company's opportunity platform, which means discounts and savings right now on new memberships. If you obtain your card before the November 12th launch date, you will never pay an annual fee like you do for most credit cards. Transact Card can enhance your buying power and change your financial well-being. One swipe of the card at a time. With a new twist in banking, contact me, Anselmo Cornelius, at 209-990-7720. That's 209-990-7720. Thank you.
Hi, welcome back.
We're back from the Adams family.
Yeah, the Adams family. By the way,
put it in your pocket.
One of our school newscasts had that wrong this week. They said, we're going to show you the family on Mockingbird Lane, and it was a story about the Adams family.
Oh,
no.
And when I saw that pop up, I immediately emailed the news director and I said, your editor stinks, which was him, because he knew the difference.
Right.
And so we had a good laugh about that. Anyway, Rick Upchurch, hopefully call us 702-992-3207. Okay. I want to talk about some of these other misconceptions that are out there. You know, people always say, well, teachers work banking hours. You get the summers off. You only work in 180 days, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. 7-Eleven is more than a convenience store for teachers. You know, that sort of thing. So talk about some of those things, would you please?
Sure. So, you know, we do work 184 contracted days. Teachers are contracted, right? It's a year-to-year contract. And so when we're contracted for those 184 days, we are paid over a 12-month period for those 184 days. We are not paid for holidays. Spring break, not paid for. Christmas, winter break, not paid for. Holidays where you have a day off, not paid for. We are not paid for those days. We are paid for the 184 contracted days that we work. That's it.
Over a period of 12 months.
Yes. And the district has this great idea that we need to have it spread over 24 paychecks instead of paying us on a monthly basis.
Let me hold you right there. We have a phone call that has come in. I believe I know who it is. Hopefully we'll be able to hear him if John turns up the volume enough.
I'm working on it.
Calling us from, I really don't know where. Mr. Rick Upchurch is on the phone. Mr. Upchurch, how are you, sir?
Hey, Rick.
Rick, can you hear us, sir?
He might be with the Raiders. He might be.
They might have him hogtied.
Right.
Rick,
I got the volume all the way.
all right. So
Okay.
whatever the reason we're not able to connect, okay, bring that volume down. Rick, if you're watching, try to give us a call again, if you would. All right. So go ahead. So so the days, right? The days is a big concern of the misconception, right?
Right. Well, because people think, oh, well, you get paid for your holidays, right? No, we only get paid for the days that we work.
Right.
And so, yes, it's 184 days that we are contracted here in Nevada, but that's not, I think they have this misconception that we get paid for all of these days off. And that simply isn't the case.
Okay, Kerri, you have something there.
Yeah, so I actually want to add on, when you do the math, 7 hours, 11 minutes, 184 days, 4 days are without students, okay? It comes out to just under 36 hours a week that we're paid for. It's 35 hours, 55 minutes. But according to Ed Week, the average teacher works 54 hours a week.
I want
to go back. What's the 7 hours and 11 minutes?
That's contracted time. Even I know that one.
Well, I mean, what's the 11 minutes for? Why is it not just 7 or 8?
We don't get to make those decisions.
Is that the 7-Eleven reference?
There's a history within the school district here as to the reason why it became 7 hours and 11 minutes.
All right, let's see if we have Rick back on the line, if we can hear each other. Rick, are you there, sir? Can you hear us? Can you hear me?
Apparently not.
All right,
okay.
maybe Rick, if you can, we're going to send you a video link possibly. Maybe we can get you to quickly video in. For some reason, we're not able to make the connection on the phone work at this time. So, John, if you have a second, would you mind trying to send that to him if you can? Okay, if you can.
All I need is his email address. Somewhere.
Okay, you should have it. Okay. Yeah. All right, so 7-Eleven, like you said, it's not anything that was designed by anybody other than they're supposed to, 180 days a year, right? And is it factored by hours as well? The 180 days must equate to a certain number of hours that it came up with 7-Eleven, or is just a quirk in the way that
there was some sort of a negotiated agreement a long time ago that ended up with the 7 hours.
Gotcha.
Okay. But you actually, school years are 9 months, right? Was it 8?
Roughly 9 months.
But not originally out here, though. We were on the term schedule for a while, right? Or tracks,
or the year-round for a while.
Or year-round for a while.
But it was still the same amount. It was still 184 days.
True, but it was a matter of how it was scheduled, right?
Absolutely.
Right, but
not all schools were a year-round schedule.
Gotcha.
When we had the extreme overcrowding in like the late 90s and into the mid 2000s, there were a lot of schools that had to do a track schedule. I feel pretty fortunate that in all of my time here in Clark County, I have never worked anywhere that was a year-round school.
So what happened with the year-round?
I like it. I worked year-round.
The year-round stuff. What happened to that? I know it was around for a little while. What made him decide to go back to just too hot in the summer? Was that something as simple as that, or was it something else?
I think they wanted to align with the middle school and high school schedules because they were never year-round, and it was very challenging, I think, for parents to have kids on all these different schedules and things. And even for me as a teacher, it was hard.
And as a teacher too.
Well, you have to remember that they also built a lot of schools. They had bond measures that came through, and they built a lot of schools to alleviate that overcrowding. The year-round system was built in to alleviate overcrowding in the classrooms.
We have a question that came into the chat room from Cindy Dunn. Tell us some of the things that teachers are responsible for that the public has no idea that teachers do. Where would you like to begin there?
You go for it, Kerri.
Where to begin? Okay, so
well, you do have to buy your own school supplies sometimes.
Yeah. So actually,
that irritates me.
So according to USA Today, the average teacher spends $860 of their own money on supplies.
Right.
So when you see a person in Walmart with like 40 boxes of crayons,
that's a teacher.
That is a teacher out of their own pocket.
And that's on top of the lists that go out to parents that are asked to purchase supplies for the classroom as well.
Right. But the list will oftentimes say this is optional because the school district will provide everything you need.
Correct.
By school district, you mean me. I will provide what you need. So teachers decorate the classrooms. We buy a lot of the supplies. Whenever you're short custodians, teachers will vacuum their own rooms. They will wipe down their own tables.
I'm assuming this has come up before in school board meetings. Why do we have to pull out money to go buy pencils and crayons and notebooks? What do they say? What is their answer when some teacher brings that up?
They have an answer for that.
Well, no, we just don't want to.
And it's a nationwide problem. Yeah. It's not just here.
Right.
Yes.
Teachers all across the country would tell you that this is a a situation where school districts just simply don't allocate money for what teachers need.
That's wrong.
And so the teachers have to spend the money out of their own pocket if they want those materials.
I want to just follow up on the comment about number of hours worked. You said you're paid on 36 and a half hours
It's
roughly.
30, so it's just under 36 hours is what we're paid for, but the
you're
average
working-
teacher works 54 hours a week.
So I want to put that in perspective for those listening. Okay. What job? I've never worked one.
You can't get a
That-
40-hour a week.
Well, but that's my point. Even though I may be paid for 40 hours in a corporate job,
Right.
you know how many hours you're really putting in, right? You're putting in 50,
Yeah, it's
60
always
hours
more,
anyway.
but yeah.
So that's why I want to make that comparison that although the teachers are contracted to work 7 hours, 11 minutes, blah, 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 many are there early, an hour, hour and a half early, plus time that they're working at home and weekends and going
Right,
into
grading
school on
papers
Saturdays.
and that
On
kind
their,
of thing.
that's all after hour work. So there's so much that has to be done by a teacher that it just will not fit into 7-Eleven. And so you're paid for 36, but you're working a hell of a lot more, 54, just like any other job. If you don't have time, you're taking it home.
So that when they say the average 54, that means you're at home grading papers, that kind of thing, or you're still in the classroom.
Or you're there
itself.
early, you're getting there
Okay.
early, you're staying late, you're bringing your stuff home evenings, weekends, early in the morning. I mean, I get up between 3 and 3:30 just because, first of all, I need some time to myself.
Right.
Second of all, lots of times I'm making my own stuff. So I may take something that's already been done, but I'm tweaking it to fit my style and how I would like to present it. So yes, that's a choice, right?
Mhm.
But last year, we were given a brand new science curriculum with very little time and training. I had to spend that time dissecting it. The lessons would have 30 to 40 slides. You're not going to go through that with kids. So I would have to take screenshots or just copy the slideshow and pull out what it is I wanted and rearrange it. That takes time. It doesn't just happen on its own.
So school boards make up all these decisions. Do they get asked for teacher input on stuff like this, or do they just not care?
There you go, thinking logically again.
Yeah. Oh my God, me thinking logically.
Not recently. No, we haven't been asked. So new reading series, new math, new science last year. And I'm not saying they're good or bad programs. I'm just saying the teachers weren't asked.
Right.
What do we need?
And you're there, like you said, you're on the front lines. You're the ones that are in the classroom.
Here, let me also say this. See, I'm a tutor, right? And I've spoken about that in
Right.
the past on the show. I'm paid a flat rate per day like a substitute teacher. 'Cause
Right.
That's what I'm licensed as. Okay. However, these two ladies to my right know, even though like at last year's school, I'm contracted to not be there at 7:45 is what I was slotted for. I'm still there at 7 o'clock myself because I don't like the fireman's drill. I like getting in, getting set up, getting my materials ready.
Well,
Well,
making sure.
now I'm at a later school start. The kids don't come in till almost 9 o'clock. I'm still there about 7:10, 7:15. Because my wife's out of the house already. So what am I doing sitting at home?
Right.
But I'm still there early because why? I want to get my materials ready for my first group. I have planning time. I have to be in the studio early because I help the newscast that goes on. But being there that early is still my choice, but I'm not compensated for it because it's better for the kids for me to do that. I'm not paid anything near what these ladies are for their contract, but that's just the choice, like Kerri said, that I've chosen to do is to go in early, and I'm not paid for it. I just do it because I feel I want to, and that's my style of preparedness. You
Right.
know?
But you have to remember that also, Phil, like for Kerri and I, when we go in early, many times it's because starting at 8 o'clock or starting whatever your start time is at your school,
Mhm.
there are meetings that we
Right.
have to attend, that we're required to attend. So the prep time that we would have to get ready and set up is spent in meetings.
So even less time.
So we don't get that time. Some schools don't give teachers any time in the morning. They have meetings every day. I'm grateful to my principal that he doesn't do that to us. That we only have meetings twice a week. But many schools that's the case, and teachers then are expected to just be magically prepared as the bell rings to have kids come in if they work their contract. So of course, most of us don't work our contracted time. Most of us work well beyond our contracted time. So, again, like Phil said, Mr. Phillips said.
People who know me call me Phil off for Phillips.
Phil
it's just quicker and easier.
Mr. Phillips. But I mean, we, the teachers, are always the ones who are looking out for the best interest of the students that we serve. And one of the ways we do that is by spending our time for free to take care of things that we know need to be done before the children get there, and that's different depending on what grade you teach. My setup is a lot more intense than it might be at a middle school where they're teaching one subject. I'm teaching lots of subjects, right? I'm a multi-subject teacher. I teach reading, writing, math, science, social studies, and health. So all of those subject areas I have to prepare for on a daily basis to be able to get ready to teach.
Well, if I was in charge of the school board, you guys get $100,000 a year.
There we go.
Promise you.
Can I
Good luck with
clarify the supplies?
Yes,
really
and then
quick?
we're going to go take a break. Go right
Okay.
ahead.
So I do want to say teachers are given basic supplies at the beginning of the year
Right.
for their students, but oftentimes it's not enough to cover the entire class, like individual supplies. And then, of course, the school's supply closet runs out as the school year goes
Sure.
on. So when things need to be replenished, then that will fall on us.
Of course.
You know,
Right
so
on.
that's where the $860 a year can come from.
Hey, we're going to go take a break right now. It's the bottom of the hour. Got to pay another bill. When we come back, I want to talk about some more of the misconceptions, and we're going to talk about some stuff within what's happening with teacher burnout, things like that, what's making the industry difficult to stay consistent because of turnover for many different reasons. You're watching the Roundtable. That's the mouth on the far end. I'm the voice, and we got two experts in education, Kerri and Christie, here in the middle, keeping us all sane. We're watching the Roundtable.
Yes, I'm actually being
We'll be
good
right
today.
back.
I'm a good boy.
At Kiwanis Family House, we build communities and give hope. But when someone is sick, families can be tested in ways they never imagined. Parents have to travel far from home to get their child the complex medical care needed. They may have to miss work and worry about paying the bills, and all the while, trying to keep their family together. That's where Kiwanis Family House comes in. Kiwanis Family House provides a home away from home for families with sick family members receiving treatment at nearby hospitals. Families stay at Kiwanis Family House for as long as they need. This allows them to be close to their sick family member and each other during a stressful time. Every day, Kiwanis Family House witnesses how families are a powerful source of support and healing during difficult times due to illness or trauma. Every day, Kiwanis Family House celebrates the importance of family and the power of love and support. Hey everybody, I am Aaron Phillips. You are?
I'm Governor Val Brown Klingelhofer.
And we host what kind of show?
We host the most fabulous show on this network you've ever seen. It's all about Kiwanis and what's going on in our different cities.
And Kiwanis Connects is the title, and you can watch us every Friday morning, 9 to 10 a.m. Pacific time, right on Facebook or WWDBTV. Say goodbye.
Bye, everybody. Aloha.
Hey, we're back again. You can't get rid of us that easy. Thank you for watching the Roundtable. We got a show about education tonight, not so much about anything more than myth busting. Remember that TV show, Mythbusters?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like what we're doing tonight, right? I don't remember the name of the two guys.
Right, but
But
they
we
would
have our
talk
own
about
Mythbusters
stuff.
right
Right,
here.
that's right.
Why the sun is yellow and why magnets work and all
Right.
that, and why they don't work.
That's what school's for.
There you
Right,
go.
there you go.
Case closed.
Like
Thank
to
you for
point that
watching.
out.
That's right. Kerri, Allard, Christie, Grandjean, they're here today. Just kind of talking about the education field in general. Anybody out there watching, you can apply it, make it applicable to anything you choose to. One of the things going through the notes that I saw here, and I think it's important that we bring up, the NEA, National Education Association, recently posted some information regarding how inflation for salaries across the country, not here specifically, but we're talking teachers everywhere, okay, is not keeping up with the cost of living. So that $800 or $900 that teachers are paying out of their pocket, we know the prices of stuff's going up,
Right.
but their salaries, because of
Are
lack
not.
of inflation adjustments, are
Right.
not accordingly. So what's the detail on that?
So it actually says that teachers are making $3,644 less on average than they did 10 years ago.
Adjusted for inflation, though, right? Taking that into account.
Exactly.
I mean, how does the salary go down?
Right. That's
Right?
Oh my God, that's crazy.
So but it's not like we said. I want to again say this: we're not just talking about CCSD, because for
Right.
those who know in the news world, if you're not living under a rock here locally, you know what's going on, and that's the only thing we're going to say about that.
Mhm.
But this is one of the reasons why negotiations across the country So it really doesn't work, John. These microphones are not supposed to pick that up, but apparently it is. So we better get new mic. Did they send you the right microphones, by the way? Anyway, so that's why I wanted to bring that up, is because I want people to realize that part of the issues with the salaries are not in conjunction, A, with responsibility, but B, with cost of living.
Right. And it's nationwide, and it's just any kind of funding going into public schools. So building maintenance, teacher pay, supplies, it's all over the nation. And that's, we just want to get the message out so people
Absolutely. Know. Chief, by the way, gave us a new title hosting today's show. Dumb and Dumber. You figure out who's who.
I'll be the Jim Kerri.
Anyway, so I think that was important to mention. I really, now, what about this thing? People, and again, this is more of a Clark County thing. So I want to, this probably be the only comment to bring it close to home. Nevada, 49th in the nation. There's arguments about why and what for, why we're down to that. Why do you think we're there? I mean, it's almost like a loaded question, like I'm giving that 80-mile-an-hour
and nobody seems to have the answer. There's got to be an answer.
Give me a couple of thoughts on that. Why we're 49th in the country?
Well, I'll give you an elementary perspective here. If you're talking about, especially in Clark County, since the last time that we purchased a new reading series before this year was 2003. We all had a 20-year-old piecemealed, taped together reading series called Trophies. And so for those of you out there in TV land who have taught with trophies, you know that that was pre-Common Core. And so the standards didn't align to the materials that we had. But that's what we had. That's what the district provided for us. And they tried to give us supplemental materials here and there. But essentially, teachers were having to buy their own curriculum for the last 20 years. And so you can imagine that having no continuity of instruction really hit us hard in being able to meet the needs of all of our students. But more importantly, we also have a very transient population. And so kids moving from school to school to school to school really harms their education and their student outcomes. So when you have kids moving, if they move 4 times within their elementary school years, is it 4 or 6 times?
4 times by the time they're in 6th grade.
Then they are already a year behind. Wow. Just because they're moving schools. And you can imagine if the curriculum is different at every single school, how challenging that is for kids to be able to catch on and catch up.
Are we beyond a point now where we can't blame the pandemic for where we are right now? Have we gone enough years away from that?
It's been like this for 20, 30 years.
I understand that. But again, I mean, I'm asking that question because I want them to talk about it. But I taught through that as well. In a very different capacity. But somebody made a comment to me last year, someone who we all know and love, that we have to stop using the pandemic as an excuse for where some of the students are today. And I think, are we past that point where we can't use that as an excuse anymore for where our students are? And I say it across the country, not just us here. What are your thoughts on that?
That's a big one. I think it really depends on what the child's experience has been through that. I think that's like a one-on-one, like case-by-case basis and what their experience has been since then.
So I'm going to take a different perspective on that. Through the pandemic, we had a lot of kids just not attending school regularly. That did not go away after the pandemic. There are areas of town here that see a 40% truancy or I want to say chronic absenteeism.
Yeah, we can't say truancy anymore.
Not truancy. Chronic absenteeism.
What happened?
And so that is a huge problem that started before the pandemic, got much worse during the pandemic, and actually hasn't gone away. Children not coming to school is a huge factor into why student outcomes are still poor. And teachers cannot drive to people's homes and pick up the children. You actually have to bring your kids to school for us to teach them. And so when children are not in school, we can't teach them and we can't increase their skills if that's the case.
I think you have some information on that you want to share.
Yeah, so I want to also define what chronic absenteeism is. These words have a lot of vowels and syllables.
They
That's why I
do.
don't teach first grade phonics.
Can I-
Because my mouth can't do it. Okay.
What's
So-
the letter A sound
I
like?
know. So it means missing 10% or more of your enrolled school days. So 10% or more of those 180 school days that students are required
That's
to
18
attend. are
days, George, in
expected.
case you
Yeah.
need help with
I'm
that.
trying
And
to
that
do the
counts
Dumb and
as
Dumber thing.
excused or unexcused. So if we look back at data, the Nevada Report Card website during the COVID year, 1920, no data. I can tell you attendance was terrible. 20 to 21, school year 34, a little over 34% of our students experienced 10 or more days of absences. 21 to 22, 40.6. And then 22 to 23, 38%. So we're hovering awfully close to almost half of our students.
So where are the parents at in this deal with the kids not showing up to school? Have they ever talked to these parents of why they're not going back to school and they're keeping them at home? Are they being homeschooled?
I'll give you
now,
one
or-
word, and I know it's probably in their head, perhaps may not want to say it. Chief is in the chat room. He made a comment.
Say it.
Well, he made a comment asking seriously, does it have to do with transient in our schools? And I replied by saying it does provide lack of consistency. He says, I think the Fortune 500 companies should donate. Question is, do they? Our word, we've talked about, is accountability. Let's
Right.
call it what it is.
Well, like you said, the
Right.
kids are not going to school. So what are the parents doing? What are they doing at work? Or you're not going to school today? Or
You know,
forever again.
I've spoken to students where they don't come to school because mom is sick or they don't make other arrangements to come, so the kid stays home. So that's where the accountability comes in. Then there's the additional reinforcement of the lessons. We all had homework when we went to school. These kids don't know what homework is, like we did.
so why do they have homework? Forgive me for asking.
You know, why don't they?
Yeah, why don't they?
So I will tell you that my students in first grade do have homework. However, I am not allowed to grade their homework in any way. And the only thing that I can do for the report card is put it under learner characteristics and behaviors. And so homework to parents seems to be this optional thing these days. And it's hard because when you're trying to get children to learn to read, there's only so much time in my day that I actually teach reading. I need parents' help. I need parents out there to read with their children as well. And I do provide materials. I send home materials that the children can read so that the parents know what it is that we're doing. But honestly, I still have children every week that do not turn in their homework. And there's
they
absolutely
wonder
nothing I can do
why.
about it. And that doesn't just happen in elementary school. I know that in middle and high school as well, the teachers are not allowed to do any grading of homework any longer. So
Well, who decided that? I mean, you can't do. They don't have homework. They don't have to. Isn't I thought that was.
By the way, you can plead
Prog-
the fifth anytime you want to.
Yeah.
So you're on a
I thought that was. I thought that was to show the
slippery
students'
slope.
progress every day when
What's the
they
safe
go.
word? Just
And then you said you can't. You say the word
Go to
truancy.
commercial. That's the
Where
safe
the-
version.
Where did the hell you can't say truancy anymore? Who decided that?
Because it's not politically correct. I mean, when we were all in school, homework was a percentage of our grades.
It was you
And
went
now
home,
everything is based on classroom work.
and I had to do the homework. I had maybe an hour to do what I wanted to do, and then I had to do my homework.
I couldn't go
and my
outside
mom
until my homework
checked
was
it.
done.
They checked it
Yeah.
every night.
Cindy says in the chat room about taking time off, she goes, or it's their birthday where they don't come to school because it's
Yes.
their birthday. I love this one. 'Cause this was,
Absolutely ridiculous.
well, how about this one?
Disneyland.
They take a family vacation for 2 weeks in the middle of the school year.
I don't like Disneyland anymore.
I can't. Well, we're not going to there.
But can I add on one thing though? Thinking about
Yeah,
sorry, no,
please.
I interrupted.
No
Sorry.
ad. Interrupt an ad.
Squirrel. Okay, so
Squirrel.
I feel like though a positive from the online year, because you always have to say there's always a positive in every
For sure.
situation, right? So many teachers got better at the whole digital landscape of education, right?
Absolutely.
All right,
Absolutely.
Google Slides, my best friend. So
Google Meets.
Right.
Remember those?
So teachers and kids and families have access to more options online. Kids are way more savvy with Canvas and
Mhm.
different, online platforms. So I think sometimes it's like, well, I can just do that work in Canvas, or the teacher already sent me a link to this or whatever. So that might be some of the reason why our absence rates are kind of steady up in the upper 30s and 40s.
You think it's going to get any better? over time?
Not
Next
under the current format.
2
no.
years, 3 years, 5 years from now, you don't think it might shrink a little?
I think that society needs to reevaluate how they see education.
You know what I love about these two? These two are trying to answer so politically correct. I'm sitting here inside going,
slap society.
Going, I know what they really want to say.
Yeah, it's believe me, I'll say it for you.
Before we go to our last break of the show, I want to just share this information. Then we're going to go to break and come back about the education profession in the future and all that sort of stuff. So a lot of parents treat school like it's a babysitting service, which is why there's no accountability at times at home. So listen to the math here. $10 per hour per child. That's what babysitters nowadays, like in daycares and all that kind of charge.
Boy, that's cheap.
25 students in a class on average, $250 an hour. Times 7 hours a day, that's about $1,800 per day. Now, if you multiply that rate by the 180 days that a school year is, for those who are mathematically challenged like George, that's $315,000 for the same
paper for you.
Well, that's because I printed out the material that was given to me. All right.
He was a prepared student.
Right.
Chop on that. Chop on that. $318,000 babysitting service is what they should be being paid. All right, we're going to go to our last break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the future of this profession, burnout, how it's affecting new teachers, leaving, coming and going, watching Roundtable. Don't go anywhere. More to come. We'll be right back.
Hello, my name is Anselmo Cornelius, and I'm one of the 1,000 digital branch office owners of Transact Card in the country. If I could save you money and double your buying power, wouldn't you want to know how to do that? The U.S. national launch for the Transact Card is coming to the Paris Hotel, Las Vegas, on November 12th, 13th, and 14th. We are now in pre-launch mode for our company's opportunity platform, which means discounts and savings right now on new memberships. If you obtain your card before the November 12th launch date, you will never pay an annual fee like you do for most credit cards. Transact Card can enhance your buying power and change your financial well-being. One swipe of the card at a time. With a new twist in banking, contact me, Anselmo Cornelius, at 209-990-7720. That's 209-990-7720. Thank you.
The breaking point. Hi, welcome back. Robin Covey, good to see you out there. Miss Seville, good to see you guys out there. Thank you for tuning in, seeing your friends out there. Absolutely. By the way, Chief sent me a comment and said, he says you better read it. So I'm going to read it. He says, take the burden off schools. If they don't come, fail them like we used to when I went to school. The school board needs to be held accountable as well. Totally accurate. Here's one thing that the public may not be aware of, and I'm going to say it. A couple of years ago, the teachers were given direction from CCSD not to hold students back. Let that sink in. Okay.
Even Dumb and Dumber could figure that one out.
Who's Dumb and Dumber? You can figure that out. Anyway, I mean, back in our day, holding students back or even moving students ahead of grade if they were, ahead of where they were told you cannot hold students back for another year, even when they severely needed it. This was kind of coming right out after COVID, after the pandemic. So talk about that. Robin Covey says the student behaviors have escalated to a point that teachers are turning in their keys at an alarming rate. We're getting to that. To echo Christie, society needs to look at education as important. Again, educators need to be respected again.
Of course, my God.
Educators, guidance counselors, anybody in the profession, administration, parents and kids need to look at these folks as symbols of respect.
Well, I believe in today's society too, a lot of the parents don't have the respect for the teachers.
Well, that again, where does that go? Accountability at home.
Right. It angers me.
All right, so we have about 12 minutes left, 11 if you ask John, because he wants me to stop before we get to the top of the hour. Let's talk about the future of the education field. Now, Robin mentioned it in there. Teachers are leaving. We've seen it all at our schools. Instead of going through it, they're quitting, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
And new teachers coming in have a very different perspective of education than when you ladies got in.
Yeah.
So pick any one of those to get started about what your thoughts are about the future.
So I'm going to pick, starting with teachers who started in the, let's say mid 90s, because we're still in the classrooms. We're still in the profession for a little while longer. We're getting near the end of our careers, but we're still there. And when we joined the profession, we did not have any idea of what was going to come at us. We saw what it was at that time. We saw that we still had some autonomy in the classroom. We saw parents still treating us with some respect. We saw parents still being involved, administrators thinking that our ideas had value. And so we had no idea that society would look at us through a completely different lens 20 years later. And so when people say, oh, you know what you got into when you took the job.
I hate that.
That really isn't true. We could have never foreseen how society would have changed their attitudes towards teachers and teaching and the profession so much.
Where do you think it's going to go 10, 15, 20 years from now with technology the way it's going? I mean, I was just going to say,
Rick would be saying that.
Are teachers going to be replaced with AI teachers or robots? Or I think the discipline part, that's where I would come in with the discipline.
I challenge you to AI to try and discipline the children. So good luck with that.
Well, Chief says maybe Chief needs to come out of retirement, work in school. And I replied back to him. I said, kendo sticks are not allowed on campus. So
did you guys ever see the movie The Substitute, where they would the teacher was there, the substitute was just, he would take those kids, and of course you can't do that.
No, we watch videos on how not to do those things. There's about
As
30
much as
videos.
they
I want you to watch videos on how to do it.
Like 20-something hours of videos we have to do for free.
Same videos
by the
every
way,
year.
We don't get paid for that
Of course,
either.
you don't get paid for that.
But you do get a nasty email if it's not done.
Yes,
right.
that's
But
true.
they have extended the due date.
I know
though,
till
from what it used to
December,
be.
till right before winter break.
I'm still waiting for
Thanks.
that time that I'm supposed to be given to actually do that.
I have it down to 5 more videos. that
Plan
are
my
20 to
lessons or
30
watch videos.
Right, exactly.
Go to meetings or watch videos.
Let's talk about some of the reasons, though. Aside from low salaries, you've got a handful of reasons here. Let's cover a couple of them that perhaps people out there don't realize why teachers are leaving the profession after many, many years, perhaps like you guys, and why new teachers are coming out 1 or 2 years later saying, this isn't for me for some of these reasons. Let's talk about some of that.
I'd be in jail, just to let you know. I'd be there.
So people are quitting, right? So 1 in 3 teachers says that they are likely to quit within the next 2 to 3 years, and they're not being replaced. So not as many young people are going into teacher education programs in colleges. They see what's going on and they don't want a piece of that. They might want to do the job because it is so incredibly fulfilling. When you're rocking a lesson in your classroom, it is like flying on a cloud. It is so
really is.
incredible. It is such a natural high. Okay.
Absolutely.
There's nowhere else in the world that I would rather be in that moment. But there's a big but. Okay. So we have not enough people in our schools. Classes tend to be overcrowded. My largest class is 42. I have just enough chairs, right? On any given day, you don't have enough teachers to run the classroom. So people are asked to sell preps and they're kind of running all over the school chaotic. Well, if you sell your prep, you don't get to prepare what it is that you need to prepare for your incoming class. So you're going to pay the price somewhere. That is a huge issue. And then the whole kind of, I feel like there's like this social media war against teachers and filming going on and things taken out of context. And that wasn't what happened, but it's pieced together and looks differently out there. It sometimes feels like you're almost at a mental war when you go to work. You want to be positive and you want to love this job, but you're always watching your back and it gets exhausting.
That's one question I had with the electronics and everything. Kids are like, I guess, allowed to have some computers, but you're trying to teach a class and they've got cell phones in the class. How does that work? How do you guys discipline they have? Are they allowed to have them
Cell
on?
phones. Cell phones are supposed to be off, or at least on vibrate in case God forbid. But it's supposed to be away in their backpack.
Yes.
Supposed to be. Now I've been in rooms where a student has had their phone in their hand. I've seen teachers take it away, keep it on their desk, the teacher, so the kid doesn't have it and be tempted by it.
Well, I know we survived without cell phones in class. If there was an emergency outside of class, the teacher would come in or the principal would say, hey, little Georgie's mom called or whatever.
Right.
Well, Chief, when he was in school, he used tin cans and string.
Right.
That was his cell phone.
Right.
However, I love you, Chief, but they do have Chromebooks. Chromebooks is what replace all those books we used to carry. Every year I used to buy the leather gym bag.
So there's no math book and
Not really to go home.
Might be a workbook, but teachers tend to
but
keep
it's all
that.
computer.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of it.
Now, who does do they
Chief
supply
agrees.
that, or does the school buy them a computer, or does the parents?
The school provides it.
Oh, okay.
They get a school issued Chromebook.
Oh, they do
and like
something.
the workbooks
Okay, they
that
do
go with
something.
the curriculum. Yeah, they get that. I have to give a shout out though to the kids at my school. They're very respectful with the phones.
Good.
I really don't have an
Mhm.
issue with it.
I don't
And
either.
they will ask, like, is it okay if I take it out? So we do things like taking photos of our work to provide evidence, like documentation and like basically like an electronic portfolio.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's hard to use the Chromebook camera because it's stationary. And so
Right.
like, can I use my phone for this? I'm like, sure, because I know you're going to take it, use it just for what you need,
And then put it back.
and then go ahead and put it back. They're really not an issue. And I can't speak for all schools in that situation, but I do want to give a shout out to my students.
Now, some
Absolutely.
teachers, real briefly, in smaller towns, rural areas, do you think kids are different and easier to teach in rural areas when there's not so much distractions? You know, I mean, I don't know if the small town Idaho or a small town, do you think kids are any different in smaller towns than they are in bigger cities because they don't have as much, you know, distractions?
I don't really know. I've never taught in a rural area,
Yeah.
so I've only taught in suburban areas. So
Right.
it would be hard. That would be a question for those of you out there who are teaching in rural
Right.
areas to answer that question. I don't want to speak out of turn
And I'm
to
sure
say
there's been
something that isn't
teachers,
true.
right, that have worked in both.
For sure.
Big
And there
cities.
are teachers out there. And even within here in Clark County, there are teachers who work in rural areas where it's really small. I know you don't think of Clark County that way, but there are areas in Clark County where there are rural teachers, and they would be able to speak to that way better than us.
Chief asked a question, which I kind of answered for him. He says, why can't senior citizens help out? And I simply replied, they can by volunteering at a school to help out in a class every once in a while. Or we have a good friend of ours that comes in to help the
So they'd
teachers
be
with
allowed
food.
to do that if you had a class of 40 and then senior
However,
citizens to help out.
To become a volunteer is not as easy as it used to be. You have to go onto CCSD's website,
Okay.
and you literally have to fill out a form requesting to be a volunteer. They have to go through a background check, the whole thing as a
Right,
teacher would.
right.
They actually get a regular type of badge that say they're volunteering that allows them to go on campus. But it's still a good idea. If you have time, go in once or twice a week to help around a class so that a teacher can do some of these other odd things that perhaps they would not have the time to do because they're overcrowded or they need copies made or whatever it is.
Does that happen? Do you have volunteers?
I am so lucky. Can I just tell you how lucky I am?
Please.
I call her Magical Mary, and Magical Mary has shown up to support me in the classroom. I die without her. I'd be there till 5, 6 o'clock every night without Magical Mary. And then I also have another parent volunteer. Her name is Desiree, and she's come in and supported me and just like, sat down, worked side by side in the classroom with students who need extra help. It's been a real gift.
And the kids are receptive to it.
And the
too?
kids are very
Okay.
receptive to that. And as a classroom teacher, I am so incredibly grateful for the gift of time that people are willing to give to my students. And
As a matter of fact, she has this one tutor that even goes in and help her with some of her students with reading.
yes,
What a great guy he is.
Dumber,
He,
dumber.
isn't he amazing?
Robin says,
Must have had a good teacher.
that's, bosses are what they are. Our districts has made it so difficult for anyone to come in and volunteer. They have to be fingerprinted and badged, and it's made it very unfriendly. Chief says, man, I went to school and we made owl houses. Well, you had a stick for a toy there, Chief. You know what I'm saying? Robin says, we love Mary. Laura Seville says Mary as well. All right, we have about 2 minutes left. So here's what I'd like to do. Obviously, we're going to skip America Speaks till
Yeah,
next
that's
week.
cool. I figured that.
These guys, we have about 2 minutes left. I want to give them the floor for the last 2 minutes. When they're done, we'll say goodbye. So have at it.
I'm going to give a shameless plug to the author of this book, and it's called The Teachers. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure it's nice and clear for you. We had a group of teachers this summer who chose to read this book as a book study. And it was an amazing journey for all of us. It was really hard. It's a hard read. It's not an easy read because it's very emotional. It talks about teachers. It profiles teachers from all over the United States. And it talks about the things that they go through both personally and professionally in the profession. And if you ever really want to learn what it's like to be a teacher, read the book, The Teachers. She became a teacher. She was a reporter. She became a teacher. She taught 3rd grade for a year. And she really captured the essence of what it's like for many of us in the profession, especially those of us who've been there a long time. I do want to say before we go that the teachers that are out there now that are coming in, they see education in a very different way than the teachers from the 90s. And they don't see education as a profession. They see it as a job more and more that they may or may not stay in. And I don't blame them, right? I don't blame teachers who are coming into the profession now going, wow, I had no idea. And I don't think I want to be signed up for this. For the people who stick it out, like they experience that love and joy along with the incredible frustrations that we have. But thank you, Mr. Phillips, for allowing us the opportunity today to come and share some ideas and myth bust a little bit on education.
Okay.
And I want to add on and just know that as of right now, where it stands, K-12 teaching is the #1 most burned out profession, excuse me, in the United States. There are over 500,000 openings right now for teachers.
Unbelievable.
Within this country, and it doesn't look like it's going to get any better.
And they wonder why.
Right. All right. I'm going to encourage each and every one of you in the chat room, if you please reshare this video to each and everybody out there that you know or don't know or like or dislike, it doesn't matter, who feels that they should be supporting educators and education. Please share this. In about 72 hours, this show will be up on the WWDBTV channel, on the Roku streaming service, as well as on YouTube and Facebook. As soon as we sign off, you can copy the URL and get it out there. This is a very important message and information to really put everything in perspective, that it's not just about contract negotiations. And I'll just leave it at that. Final thoughts there, Mr. George.
I appreciate you guys coming in today. I learned a lot. I'm more angry now than I ever was an hour ago. But I always respected my teachers. I had my favorites. I also had my not so many favorites, but I respected all of them anyway for what they did. And today, I don't even know, I couldn't do what you guys do. There's no way in hell I could do it. So I appreciate, and I hope that the future of you guys' careers goes better and gets better here, especially in Clark County, if you stick it out here.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well said. John, I'd like to give you the floor for 30 seconds because I know you're a big supporter of education. You have any final thoughts about?
He's going to take an hour, you know that, right?
Well, it's his station studio. He can do whatever he wants.
That means we're on the air more. Okay, yeah.
That's right. Yeah, okay.
There we go.
All right. I attended elementary school here in Nevada a couple of 100 years ago. I went to 5th Street School.
Which is now Las Vegas. Oh, no, it was across from Las Vegas Academy, right?
It's on Las Vegas Boulevard and Clark.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Downtown.
Yep.
Anyway, for whatever reason, we had to move back to California. I was 2 years ahead of the California schools. I did nothing for 2 years in California because the education system here was that good. And the teachers here were that good. And the teachers here are still that good, but everything else is screwed up.
There you have it. John,
Thank
make
you.
sure you add what today's show is to the description up there, if you don't mind. As I'm looking at it, you may
Too
have.
late now. No,
Jeez. Thank you, Chief. All right. Listen, we bring this to you. I'm glad we did this for a couple of reasons. Number one, education. Educators are in my family top to bottom. My wife, my sister, my brother-in-law, these ladies, of course, who I know personally as well as professionally. We are letting the good ones slip through our hands. And that's the sad part. We're also letting the good students slip through our hands because of the negativity that's going around about educators. It starts at home, plain and simple. Accountability for attendance, accountability for follow-up, and parents, if I can say it this way, who really give a damn about what's going on with their student in class to succeed. That's where it starts. Don't we realize that? We should know that by now. With that, I'm going to say goodbye. Don't forget to join us tomorrow morning. Kiwanis Connects, 9 a.m. Hey, y'all going to get to see a club charter live on the air, the new Downtown Kiwanis Club, live. Governor Val will be in studio. Maritz, our Lieutenant Governor. Be kind to everybody. Why? We're all we have, folks. We'll see you next time right here on
The Round Table.
Even though